My name is Eric Moore, and I am the founder of the Society for the Promotion of a Culture of Honor. Recently, I sent out an article in which I talked about the growing prayer movement in Michigan and identified many of the prayer groups that are praying and focused on Michigan and asking God to bring transformation and turnaround here. The response to that was amazing, and I've gotten emails back from people who got the article and said, "Hey, add our group to the list that you have," and it's just amazing to see just what's going on in the prayer movement here in Michigan. I wanted to take a minute today and explain to you the history that's around the concerted prayer movement that's going on in the world. In South Africa in 2002, a group of leaders gathered and began what has become the Global Day of Prayer. We will be observing this on the May 19th, Sunday, May 19th, in just a few weeks. The story of this movement is absolutely phenomenal. As these leaders gathered in South Africa, it led them to do a stadium event, a concerted effort in prayer, when they gathered about 45,000 South Africans to pray on a day in 2005. Well, that just burgeoned into the next several years when pretty quickly they did a day of prayer in Africa for the whole continent that involved over 2,000 venues with Christians gathered in every country of Africa as they prayed for that continent. Well, as people found out about this, it grew into the Global Day of Prayer. And within the last couple of years, there's been an absolutely amazing outpouring of prayer for the spiritual awakening of the globe. Christians have prayed on a particular day. They have concerted their effort in prayer. The Christians were praying in all 220 nations of the world, and an estimate of 500 million Christians participated in that concerted effort of prayer. So we can see there's great power when we focus and concert our effort in prayer. God moves on that. But it's important to understand, as we look at what's happening today, that we go back into history and see the birth of the concert of prayer movement. Jonathan Edwards was the key player in the First Great Awakening that occurred in the United States back in the 1730s and 1740s. He was influenced by some Scottish Presbyterians in the aftermath of that awakening, as those Scottish revivalists were pressing for a concert of prayer. They were asking people to come together on the first Tuesday of every quarter of the year. And they wrote a little booklet about that, and someone sent it to Jonathan Edwards, who was captured by the idea. He was an amazing theologian. He understood it from a biblical, theological, historical, and his own experience with revival. He was captured by this idea of a concert of prayer. And he wrote a little booklet that was very influential during those years. It was an amazing title given to this. I want you to hear the title of this work that he wrote: A Humble Attempt to Promote Explicit Agreement and Visible Union of All God's People in Extraordinary Prayer for the Revival of Religion and the Advancement of Christ's Kingdom on Earth, pursuant to Scripture promises and prophecies concerning the last time. That little booklet made its way around. And many people entered into that kind of prayer, that concert of prayer. They were a little discouraged by the impact and effect of that, and so it kind of went dormant for about a generation. And then the same Scottish minister who had sent the little memorial booklet to Jonathan Edwards back in the 1740s made a call for prayer, again, a concerted effort of prayer that crossed both from Scotland across the pond into America, and the prayer movement was revitalized. In 1794, 23 New England ministers made a call for concerted prayer, and they called for prayer on the first Tuesday of every quarter of the year, and it began in January of 1795. America was in deep weeds at that point. The drunkenness was off the charts. Of a population of 5 million, 300,000 of them were drunkards, and every year they buried 15,000 drunkards. Schools like Yale and Princeton and Harvard, which started as schools to train ministers, had no Christians. And so the prayer movement began, and quickly things began to happen. And Timothy Dwight, who was the grandson of Jonathan Edwards, became the president at Yale University, and within a year, 50% of that student population became Christians. In the 1800s, the Logan County revival outbreak occurred, and just over and over, denominations began to grow. Evangelism was happening. There was just this huge movement that eventually led to things that changed the culture. As missionary societies opened up, and Bible societies opened up, and Sunday schools, and the abolition movement, and all of that was birthed out of that Second Great Awakening. So we see the power of this concerted effort in prayer. And so we need to understand that and step in and become part of it here in our own day and time. So I want to encourage you to look at the website attached to this email and take a look at this Global Day of Prayer. I'm also asking for people who are part of the culture of honor to take a specific action in prayer toward our government leaders next week between April 28th and May 4th. In this email, you'll see there's some specifics there about what we can all pray and to pray that together. That's part of being concerted in prayer. And so sometime during the week of next week, I want you to take time to pray for your state rep, to pray for your state senator. They both work in Lansing, and then to pray for your congressman who works in D.C. And then as you pray for them, I want you to take some time to send them an email or to write them a letter, a card, and let them know that you have prayed for them, that you're blessing them, that you honor them for what they're doing. And I believe that out of the power of concerted prayer, we're going to see things change. I chose next week to be the time that we would make an effort in concerted prayer because it's tied to the National Day of Prayer, which is May 2nd. It's always the first Thursday in May. And so I want to encourage you to, at some level, be involved in the National Day of Prayer. Come to Lansing. We're going to have a great prayer effort from noon until 1 on the Capitol steps. And so God moves on the prayers of His people. And when we focus and pray, God is going to move in some extraordinary ways. And so I want to encourage you to be part of that.